Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about code monkeys. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Frederick, you talk about devs who became code monkeys. What if the company pushes me to become a code monkey and they just don't care? It's really frustrating. I was actually forced to write a bug because that's how it works in a different part of the app. Well, uh, so this is one of those situations where this took me a long time to figure out, and it took a long time to also come to terms with this thing. And it's actually funny because I had a talk with one of, I would say that he's probably one of the best developers that I know and work with at the time, or at this time. He was telling me in confidence, of course, that he was feeling frustration and issues and so forth because the company that we worked for has a looser policy on and then what he is expecting himself, in a sense, I would say. And I told him that I can very much relate to the frustration that a person might feel from a mismatch between what the company is looking for and what your expectations are on whatever you're supposed to be doing, right? Because as a software developer, you know what, on average, you usually know better than anybody else what good software looks like. You also know what a quality software developer looks like. You know what a quality DevOps person looks like. You have a perspective because you're basically the one who is closest to the actual thing that you're doing, right? Your perspective is always going to be the most qualitative one, and everybody above you is less informed. And in your situation, that is literally what's happening. The company is pushing you into becoming a code monkey because they don't share your enthusiasm for good software. And being forced to becoming a code monkey is actually something that you might think is the company's fault. But it's actually not. It is actually you who is solely responsible for becoming a code monkey. Now, I actually said the same thing to my coworker, or rather not this specific thing, but I explained to him that what you have to understand is that you know how well things could work if you just did A, B, and C. But the company that you are working for doesn't have the interests or doesn't really have any, like, or maybe it's just due to limitations, education. There are all these reasons why A, B, and C can't happen. So you are literally sitting there being frustrated and angry at the world for working the way it does. Why don't you you could spend the same amount of energy about feeling that it's ridiculous that we can't achieve world peace, and it would make as much of a difference. So you're actually just creating frustration for yourself, and this is a lesson that I learned. When I had problems, because I'm very, let's just call it a loud person when I'm unhappy with things, or I used to be at the very least, and you very quickly come to the realization that you can be as angry as you want, and unless you have the audience, the charisma, like these circumstances to get somebody to listen to you, all that's going to happen is that you're going to get fired, or it's going to fall on deaf ears. I can promise you that much. And so the code monkey thing that you are experiencing, that frustration, or that you feel like you're being forced to write bad code, it's actually not what's happening. What's happening is that the company wants you to deliver results in accordance with their value system. Now, that doesn't make you a code monkey. That means that your place of work is forcing you to write bad software. And there's a big difference between that. Because being a code monkey is something that you cause. That is when you are unable or unwilling to continuously learn to improve your own skills and actually do a good job. Because no one can force you to become a code monkey. They can only demotivate you from doing a good job, and that is what's happening here. And that's a very big difference. And I actually said the same thing to my coworker. I explained to him, one of the reasons behind why I know the things that I know about front end these days is because I used to work in a company where I like to say that the entire department, the IT department, was run by good enough people. In other words, these are people who they're not really interested in IT. They're really here just to clock in and get a paycheck and do something that is sort of stable, and they don't really give a shit about how well the company does. They don't give a shit about what the code quality looks like, etc., etc. It's really about them and their own comfort, all of the stuff that is happening, right? And when you work in that sort of environment and you are a very passionate software developer, you want to push it and be the best that you can be. That's extremely frustrating because it's in a sense it's similar to being in a group of joggers and being one of the people who wants to run really, really fast, but everybody else kind of just want to do this slow little pacing thing that frustrates you because you can't just leave them behind, unfortunately, because you all need to reach the finish line, right? And being one of those pushers in that environment is really, really frustrating. But at the same time, that environment, and that's the perspective I would like you to take from this, that environment is still teaching you something. You see, as I told my coworker, the difference between bad software and good software is really only found in the output and quality of the system. And if the company doesn't care if there's bugs and shit like that, then why would you care? It's not your company. If they are making money from the fact that they have a really shitty system, then like let them do that. But the thing that makes you upset is because they seem to not care about their own health, and it's in a sense it's very similar to being a doctor and watching your patient smoke, even though you told them to stop because they're dying from lung cancer, and they continue. And you kind of, at some point, you're going to reach that point where you just say, okay, fuck it, die. Because at some point you're going to realize that unfortunately you live in a world where people have varying levels of intellect, interests, perspectives, etc., etc. You simply cannot control them. And the thing that you're actually frustrated about is not necessarily that you are being forced to be a code monkey, because as I said, nobody's forcing you to write bad software. You are writing bad software because you are being demotivated to writing bad software. But the key thing is that when you're in that sort of environment, just as with me and that the place of work that I used to have, there's actually something to learn from working with bad software. And it's actually a really good skill for you to learn how to work, or how to, as I like to say, write really shitty code well. Because there are different rings of hell. Even if you work in a legacy system, you can actually still write good software within that legacy system. It's just that your expectation is that you should be able to write this perfect, flawless system. That's the perfectionist in you. That's the thing that I'm talking about. The company in this scenario isn't really interested in indulging that side of you. So you're feeling frustrated because you feel like you're being limited or you're being forced to write bad software, when actually there's nobody stopping you from still writing unit tests, trying to do Boy Scouting and refactoring stuff and so forth. But the thing is, guys, every time I talk to somebody who complains about the legacy in the system, these same people never write any tests. They never try to do anything well within the sphere because they feel like, oh, this is already so messy. Why should I be the one who tries to clean it up? And see, that's the problem. If nobody starts, it's never going to get better. So what I want you to take away from this is that nobody can force you to become a code monkey, because being a code monkey is a state of mind. Being a code monkey means that you don't reflect at all over the work that you do. You don't actually care how things go. You don't care about writing good software. You don't care about any of that stuff. And see, a lot of developers get to that point because they are frustrated with their working environment and that their coworkers don't care. But this is what I like to tell people. Imagine it being just about you. Let's talk about fitness. If all the members in your family are severely obese with heart problems because they can't stop eating junk food, or you're going to use that as an excuse to also get fat and like die from very treatable ailments and stuff like that? Or are you going to actually realize that this is actually really bad? What they're doing is bad, and you cannot control them, but you can control what you are doing. So you can start going on the treadmill and exercise and stuff like that. And that's exactly what I did. And now I would say that I even remember having a quote. I said because I had a coworker who said, "Oh, this system is complete shit," and I said, "Yes, it is complete shit, but I would rather be a master of the shit than a victim of it." Have a great day.